guys, I'm making this quick video for you because Mike and I have been getting several emails from people who have been having back pain. For some reason, it just seems like recently a lot of people are hurting, particularly in the low back. And I think that's just an epidemic across the board in just modern society for several reasons. Before I get into the lesson and show you how I believe is the easiest way to identify why you're having these back problems and how to correct them, you might see that I'm wearing a cast. If you don't know why I'm wearing this soft cast, I'm not going to tell you the whole story here because I've told the story 1,000 times and even have some videos about it on my personal blog at hullstrength.com. You probably know what that is. So check that out. That way we can move on, move past the distraction. Anyway, so here are the typical reasons why, or the most prominent reason why I see most people suffering from back pain, in particular people who exercise often. It's due to a muscular imbalance in the hip region, believe it or not. So it's what's happening within your hips, your upper hamstrings, your abdominals, the area surrounding your low back that is contributing to some of the low back pain. I'll tell you what I mean in a moment. If you take a good look at your hip region, this is called like the lower cross. Basically, where your abdominals are B, your upper hamstrings are C, your low back is A, and your hip flexors are D. This guy's nose is this way, so it makes a little bit more sense. Several imbalances can occur between your abdominals, your upper hamstrings, your low back, and your hip flexors. But essentially, to be a fully balanced person, those four muscle groups have to work together synergistically, all providing the same amount of effort in order to produce movement. So what happens a lot of times is there's an imbalance where like these two guys are working really, really, really hard, and these two guys are weak and lazy. They just don't do anything. And then you have just the opposite, where these two guys are really, really strong, and these two guys are really, really weak. Your body works in a series of crosses and like cross patterns, and this is just one of them. So what I've done is I've taken the two typical types of imbalances, the one that goes this way and the one that goes that way, number one and number two, and I've termed them. Now, I stole this. I got these terms or these ideas from Paul Chek, but for simplicity, I've used them for us. The Donald Duck syndrome and the Pink Panther syndrome. The Donald Duck syndrome is also you can also call it hyperlordosis. It's basically guys that look like Donald Duck, because like even myself at times, where your butt sticks out, it's almost like your belly's kind of extended, and you almost sometimes waddle. It's a little strange. But this is marked by someone who looks like Donald Duck, because as you can see, our buddy here has got his butt stuck way out and his chest is all up. So when you're dealing with a situation like that, what you have is a muscular imbalance that's causing an anterior pelvic tilt. That just means your pelvis is tipping forward, and when it tips forward, that means your belly spills out and your butt flips up in the air. The reason why that happens is because you've got, in relation to the rest of the four areas here, this quadrant, in relation to the rest of the areas, you've got overdeveloped and really strong lumbar erectors. That's the low back muscles. So a lot of times people that are like this, they think they need to strengthen their back. And I've seen them go to physical therapists, and the therapist says, you need to do some hyperextensions. And it's like, you're already friggin' hyperextended. Why is he telling you to do hyperextensions? It's because he doesn't understand muscular imbalance. You're already highly developed in the low back. You've got very strong low back muscles, but they're working way too hard, and that's why they're always fatigued or painful. Your hip flexors are going to be muscles that are extremely tight, because they also contribute to the tipping forward of the hips. So those are your really tight, strong muscles. That's a good thing, but they need to be stretched in order, because when you stretch a muscle, you sort of weaken it, or you take a lot of the nervous energy out of it. They need to be stretched in order to give way for the weaker muscles to come up and meet that even balance within those four groups, or those two groups. Your abs, the abdominals. Guys of this nature or athletes of this nature tend to have weaker abdominals, in particular weaker low abdominals, and upper hamstrings tend to be a little bit weak. Ken Griffey Jr. always pulled his hamstring, and if his strength and conditioning coach understood that he had a serious anterior pelvic tilt, then he would have probably spent more time strengthening his upper hamstrings and abdominals. So this could have been avoided. So if you're a Donald Duck, you know what, you can relate to that totally. Now Pink Panther, on the other hand, is this guy that his butt sort of tucks under. Looks like he's just got a long back and then legs just happen. There's no butt there. It's just a tucking under. That's the way Pink Panther looks. If you notice, he's got his butt tucked under and this guy's pointing at it. So Pink Panthers have what's called a hypolordosis. You have no lordosis, no lordotic curve in your low back. It's just flat. There's no curve. And a posterior pelvic tilt. That means your pelvis is sort of tipping backwards. It's tipping this way and it's pulling your hips forward. You probably can't see me. I'm moving my hips and stuff. You can only see my upper body. But it's almost like a tucking under of the butt. That's your posterior pelvic tilt. The muscles that are weak, that need to be strengthened, you guys are the ones that need to do hyperextensions, any type of back extensions, because those muscles are just non-existent, because obviously because they're not pulling your hips back. And hip flexors. You got really long, open, weak hip flexors. Tight muscles, you guys should avoid crunching to any great degree. You're already crunched over, probably in your upper abdominals, or probably dropping your rib cage down on a severe angle, and your upper hamstrings. You probably have very, very tight hamstrings. This guy, I would avoid stretching hamstrings. For some freaking reason, everybody thinks when you stretch, you should stretch your hamstrings. Not always the case. He should. He shouldn't. So I hope that's of value to you. Some of you have seen this before, and some of you this is brand new. But hopefully you can take this information and apply it to your current situation and shed some light on why you're having back pain. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the video.